Hi world, it's 12:45 p.m. on Tuesday the 26th of September 2023. I've just finished a monster session. I've just done 6 half-hour readings in 3 hours 15 minutes with no gaps in between. It's one of I used to do a lot of house parties where I would go to someone's house and do boom, 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 boom readings one after the other. I don't do that anymore because it's not productive. I don't enjoy it. But to do one online with people in different time zones all around the world is quite unusual. And what was really weird is that I did 6 readings one after the other, and the amount, all of these people bar one, had such a strong polarity with each other. These are people who don't know each other. One of them knew them all, but no one else knew each other. One of them had Pluto at 0 degrees Scorpio. The second one had Venus at 0 degrees Aquarius. The third one had the Ascendant at 29 degrees Capricorn and Saturn at 29 degrees Libra. The fourth one had the Moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. The fifth one had the Moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. The sixth one had nothing at 29 degrees of the cardinals or 0 degrees of the fixed. But 5 of them all had stuff at 29 Capricorn, Libra, or 0 Scorpio or Aquarius. What's the odds on that? It's fantastically high. There's 14 points in a horoscope that I use. So multiply 14 by 5 and then by 360. Big. So straight away, and you get days like this. I get days where I'll do 5 or 6 or 7 readings in a day, and I'll notice that in 5 or 6 of them, they've all got a Mars square Saturn, or they've all got Mercury retrograde in Libra. And it's like I've seen this so commonly that I start realising, okay, well, this is what the universe is trying to teach me about today. This is today's lesson from the universe. It's teaching me all about this. So today I'm having to look at everything at 29 degrees Capricorn, 0 Aquarius, or 29 degrees Libra, 0 Scorpio. And bearing in mind that Pluto is now at 29 degrees of Aquarius, 29 degrees of Capricorn. So, yeah, fascinating. And there's going to be a time in, I think it's early part of next year, he says, grabbing his ephemeris. Yes, it will be. When Mars in the sky lands on top of Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and this will be on the 13th of February. That's going to be an interesting conjunction. Mars conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. So what does it mean, all this 29 degree? Well, there's so many things around 29 degrees. 29 degrees Leo, you've got Regulus. 29 degrees Taurus, you've got the Pleiades. 29 degrees Pisces, you've got, what's it called? One of the fixed stars, I forget. 29 degrees Scorpio is seen as... some people call it a fated degree. It's certainly a very strong degree. 29 degrees of any sign seems... 29 degrees Sagittarius, for example, galactic centre. Whenever I see people with a lot of planets at 29 degrees, it's weird how planets at 0 and 29 degrees of their signs tend to represent those signs far more than someone born with planets in the middle of those signs. Why that should be, I don't know. But I love the synchronicity when the universe presents these kind of unfathomable problems towards me, and I just think, okay, so what's the meaning behind this? Is there a meaning that's logically and rationally explainable? No. Is there a meaning that I can intuit and sense and feel? Yeah. But it speaks of a far, far greater web of connectivity than my tiny little brain can encompass. One day, perhaps, one day. But I digress. This was not meant to be what I was talking about today. Every morning in recent times, well, not every morning, but many mornings in the last couple of weeks, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. only for a few minutes, and I'm thinking, what am I doing awake? Oh, 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Venus will be out. And I go outside and I look to the east. And when it's not cloudy or raining, I live in England after all, I can see Venus clear. And it's still getting higher and higher and brighter. Venus won't cut to maximum elongation until October the 24th, when the sun's at 0 Scorpio. That's when it'll be at its furthest from the sun, about 46 degrees away. And that's when it'll be at its biggest and brightest and highest. But I've always struggled with Venus. I remember once doing a workshop in southwest London, Woking I think it was, and I was talking to a bunch of astrological students. I was saying, well, look, I just don't identify with Venus. Do any of you people? And others are going, yeah, I really feel Venus by transit. And through discussion, we worked out that if there's a planet in your own personal chart that's not that strong, such as Venus isn't that strong in my chart, then you're unlikely to notice it by transit, both in your own chart or even when you're doing transits for others. Whereas other planets which are very strong, for example, Saturn's strong in my chart, then you will notice the influence of Saturn. But I don't really notice the influence of Venus, others do. But there's a lot of... Venus stands out. First of all, it's got that wonderful pentagonal shape. Venus goes retrograde 5 times every 8 years. And every time it goes retrograde 72.1 degree further on than where it went the previous time. So every 8 years you get a 5-pointed star, which gradually, very slowly over centuries, moves ever so slowly forward. It's why Venus has been associated with Lucifer, the morning star, the evening star, the light star, the light bringer, because of its pentagonal orbit, which the ancients knew of. Certainly they knew about it in the Middle Ages. There's plenty of diagrams of it from those times. But Venus, it's a bit of a paradox. There's a character called Immanuel Velikovsky. He's long dead now. But he published a book in the 1930s, 1940s called Worlds in Collision. He had no factual proof apart from a lot of ancient artifacts. But he theorized that Venus was not an original member of the solar system. This is way before any satellites or advanced telescopes had been able to be clear about what was actually going on Venus. And he philosophized that Venus was an intruder into the solar system, that it came in on a random orbit and got caught by the sun's gravity. And after colliding with the Earth or the Earth's moon, it settled into orbit between Mercury and the sun. Now, he had no proof for this. And on the surface, it seems a ridiculous theory. But it's never gone away, that theory. It's always been there. He wrote a book on it called Worlds in Collision, which I used to have a hardback copy. Fascinating idea. But Venus is different to any other planet. It's encased in those clouds of... is it carbon dioxide? I think it's carbon dioxide. And it's got a greenhouse effect going on. Its surface isn't solid. It's molten rock. It keeps consuming its own skin. Every 10,000 years it eats its own skin. The volcanoes rule Venus. It's an incredibly unpleasant place. You wouldn't want to live there. And then there's the way Venus is represented, both astronomically and in culture. It's always been seen as the morning star, the evening star, because as it goes retrograde, so it's either high in the sky in the west or high in the sky in the east, depending on which time of year and its position in its retrograde cycle. But Venus, as it goes further and further away or closer and closer, so the crescent of Venus expands from a thin sliver into almost a half moon. When it's at its most extreme on 190 degrees away from the Earth. And sometimes it can be a minute little dot, and other times it can be a really bright star, depending on how close it is to Earth on its journey around the sun. As you will see from the picture I put up on this video, courtesy of APOD, Astronomy Picture of a Day from a NASA site, best astronomical resource I've ever found in terms of graphics. So Venus, I mean, I still find it difficult to be able to pinpoint what Venus actually does by transit. And there are a number of astrologers, myself included, who suggest that sometimes Venus is more noticeable in its effects by transit when it is either retrograde or when it is standing still about to go retrograde or standing still about to stop going retrograde. Certainly the stations of Venus, such as the one we've just had, where Venus has been squared to Jupiter for 2 weeks, as Jupiter stood still about to go retrograde and Venus stood still about to stop going retrograde, they became squared to each other by less than a degree for 2 weeks. So we've just had 2 weeks of a Venus square Jupiter, and now Venus is squaring Uranus as it slowly picks up speed and gets higher in the sky. As I say, approaching maximum distance from the sun around the 24th of October, at which point it will start a slow decline in its ascension from the horizon. It will slowly get lower and lower. Venus is a fascinating thing. I still don't get it after 40 years. It's easy to interpret in a natal chart. And even by progression on its retrograde or stationary points, it's easy to interpret. But by transit, don't get it. I find it difficult. Anyone got any good suggestions? I'd be delighted to hear them. Anyway, I digress. Catch you next time, world. Bye.